Ron Howard was at his best in 1988. Hollywood success. The Golden Lad has gone from Happy Days to the director of some of the decade's most successful films. But that he was pushed by one project each year. The film began as a dream became a creative nightmare. Not the budget, studio, or the script that broke him. She was the center of attention. Storm. A creative collaboration turned tense, conflicting egos, and behind-the-scenes turbulence that scarred Howard winces at today. What actually happened on the set? And why does Ron Howard still regrets that 1988 film? Join us as we investigate Hollywood hid the story. From little star to Hollywood icon. Before fame, good days, and Oscars, there was simply a small town Duncan, Oklahoma boy. Born March 1st, 1954. Ron Howard was built in Hollywood, with show business in his blood. For it. His father, Rance Howard, directed, wrote, and acted. His mother, actress Jean Spiegel. Beckenhold may have been the family name. When Rance exchanged it for Howard in 1948, he wasn't just switching stages. Name. He established the tone for future generations. When Ron was born, his father was Air Force member. But storytelling nevertheless shaped their family's reality. The Howards weren't your ordinary Hollywood family. They dreamed and treated calling like workmanship. Ron's German, English, Scottish ancestry, Irish, and Dutch roots suggested an all-American look that would become one of television's most popular familiar spots. Instead, Ron grew up among cameras and soundstages. Play areas. His classroom wasn't always school. Sometimes diluted between takes at studios. When not studying lines, he met at Robert Louis Stevenson Elementary or history at David Jordan Jr. High in Burbank. He later toured Johns Hall's Burroughs High School, effortlessly balancing scripts and homework. Even USC's School of Cinematic Arts accepted him. Still, he was already know the truth. He wasn't meant for a desk. He was supposed to sit behind a camera. Howard frequently admits that as a child performer, he was predisposed to directing. Watching adults call action and cut turned him on. Not simply about appearing in front of cameras, creating the universe behind it. His initial success came early. Ron, a freckled 5-year-old, reached his goal in 1959. Credited film debut in The Journey. The floodgates opened. He appeared everywhere. The Twilight Zone, June Allison's DuPont show Dennis the Menace, Dobby Gillis' Many Loves, and Cheyenne. That he wasn't another cute TV kid. He was natural, focused, and sharp. And showed discipline most adults struggled with. However, 1960 changed everything. As a child, Ronnie Howard was born that year, became Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show at age 5 years old, and America's beloved son. This role characterized his youth, although also provided him something more valuable than fame. It provided him front row seats to greatness. Ron often recalls his first day on set. He recalled being obsessed with a toy turtle. The scene showed him to make the turtle seem real and dead. He recalled how Andy Griffith softly guided him through it, making a fantasy magical. That day was more than acting for Ron. Suddenly, he learned what storytelling meant. Honesty, passion, and connection. The Andy Griffith Show comfort food was pure, simple, and full of heart. Instead of flair or trends, it emphasized warmth, family, and in small-town values. It felt contemporary despite airing in the 1960s, that like a love letter to a simpler, chaos-free world. The cast got famous. Andy Griffith was everyone's wise father to wish they had. Don Knotts entertained. Francis Bavier titled the performance "Soul." Then came Ronnie, the inquiring youngster who grounded it all. Their connection made the show a hit, winning many Emmy nominations, including several for comedy series excellence. The Bob Newhart Show lost against the Jack Benny Show, earning no major award. Trophies weren't needed for Show and the Monkees. Because while other series disappeared, but Andy Griffith's show endured. At the Centera, red-haired kid learned lifelong lessons. Not only acting, but about heart, leadership, and patience. Duncan's little boy wasn't he trying to be Opie Taylor. He was learning to tell world-changing stories. And little did anyone anticipate Mayberry's quiet kid would become one of Hollywood's most revered directors. But the trip there would be difficult. His childhood industry nearly killed him years later. Break him. From joy to directorship. Before Ron Howard, he was America's beloved redhead and a recognized Hollywood director. Clean-cut Richie Cunningham kid from Happy Days. His all-smile sitcom to director's path chair wasn't accidental. a gradual ascent on instinct and grit and a lifetime storytelling passion. It started with one episode of a short part called Love and the TV set in Love American Style. That Happy Days began with this small role. When the sitcom began in 1974, Howard's Richie was prim and proper. Healthy tale core. The ideal foil for Henry Winkler's leather-clad, revolutionary Fonza. Their beyond-screen wizardry, chemistry existed. It existed. Both became the spirit off-program, with Howard's everyman charm underpinning Winkler's megacool. 6 seasons later, in 1980, laughter, fame, and adolescent reminiscence, Howard craved more. He spent most off-spin his life in front of the camera and wanted to be behind it. Just before he left the show's 8th season with purpose, not pride, he realized he had to direct his story. He returned a few times. Guests in the show's last season, showing fans the kid who had matured before them. Long before leaving, Howard took his first directing shot. He debuted in 1977 that he co-wrote the low-budget action comedy Grand Theft Auto alongside his father Rance Howard. The chance came from a cunning bargain with Roger Corman. Ron would act and eat my dust. Howard promised to direct the next film if Corman allowed it. The trade-off worked. Young actor showed more than star power. He saw. From late 1970s, Howard discreetly honed his directing skills with TV shows. 1980 NBC film Skyward Stars Hollywood great B. Davis. But 1982 changed everything. His film Night Shift, starring Michael Keaton, Shelley Long, and Henry Winkler from Happy Days, garnered attention. It was fresh, swift, and fearless. A director who gave comedy heart. Splash followed in 1984. The dream love comedy that made Tom Hanks famous and Howard a Hollywood star filmmaker. It was adored by audiences and critics, and then behind the camera, young star was powerful. He repeated it 2 years later. Cocoon, an emotional sci-fi comedy about aging and second chances. Itis, another hit that won Donna Mission Academy Award and showed Howard could mix inventiveness and emotion. Few could. In 1988, Willow darkened Howard's path. A George Lucas-produced high fantasy adventure. The Val-starring film Kilmer and Warwick Davis needed to be epic, but behind the scenes it became a tiring battle for Howard. Creative conflicts and production turmoil tested him. The film had a cult following, but Howard later admitted that Willow showed him patience and fortitude and how hard the industry could be. He ending the decade with Parenthood, a touching family comedy starring Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, Keanu Reeves, and young Joaquin Phoenix. Number 1 debut, over $100 million, and 2 Oscar nominations. By then, Ron Howard was more than director. Audiences trusted his stories. The 1990s maintained momentum. He directed Backdraft, a thrilling thriller about reviewers Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel praised firefighters. Then came the masterpiece, A Beautiful Mind. Howard produced and directed it that won Best Picture and the Oscar for Best Director. His name now evoked power and importance. And many directors would rest on that glory. But Howard kept on. He became the narrator and executive producer of the cutting comedy Arrested Development, won him an Emmy for Best Comedy Series. Followed that with hits and high-stakes blockbusters. Oscar's Cinderella Man-nominated boxing drama The Da Vinci Code, which bombed at the movie office over $750 million. Frost, Nixon, the captivating politician drama garnered him another Oscar nomination. Angels and Demons proved he could combine intelligence and commercial appeal. Not everything was gold. The Problem failed, but Howard responded with Rush, a thrilling racing drama critics adored. He kept experimenting, guiding in the Heart Sea, delving into survival filmmaking, and never losing that storytelling flair. By 2021, Howard was actually trying to survive. He begun filming 13 Lives, the 2018 Thai cave rescue true story. The 2022 film was lauded for its authenticity and emotion. And just as like Hollywood, he evolved. Netflix cast him in The Shrinking, his debut animated film, Treehorn, and the survival thriller Eden, starring Jude Law, Ana de Armas. From a red-headed Happy Days kid to one of Ron Howard's trajectory has been unpredictable, making him one of the most influential filmmakers. He has lived 1,000 stories and told more. But every achievement has a cause. Drive has always existed. That interested, motivated child from Mayberry, always seeking the next big tale. A deep love of Ron Howard. The woman who supported him throughout. Most could emulate Ron Howard's career. Only imagine. He went from child star to Oscar-winning filmmaker. All. One constancy has underpinned every wonderful chapter in his life: his longtime partner, Cheryl Howard. Ron's narrative began early. He appeared in The Andy Griffith Show at age 5. Show, gaining hearts nationwide as Opie Taylor. Happy, Happy Days followed. Throughout the 1970s, he embodied wholesome TV before his dramatic move, Get Behind the Camera. Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, hillbilly Elijah rose from the boy next door to Hollywood's elite. Through every stage, Cheryl accompanied him on that journey. His anchor, Muse, quietly strong. They fell in love before Hollywood fame. They met in Burbank's John Burroughs High School. Two teens who had no idea where life would take them. Ron's November 2020 celebration 50 years after their first date. He said it was November .1 SD, 1970, when he took Cheryl to watch It's a Mad, 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 Mad reissue. World before going to Barnone Pizza, now closed. He said they would drive his 1970 Volkswagen Bug to celebrate. Picked her up 50 years earlier. Running strong like them. Few realized that Cheryl didn't immediately accept Ron's proposal. The Drew Barrymore Show unveiled their daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard. Cheryl agreed after her dad proposed 3 times. According to Cheryl, wanted to finish school and take her time before marrying Bryce, saying she wasn't ready to board his train yet. Their freedom strengthened their bond. In 1975, Ron and Cheryl married after 5 years. In Burbank on June 7th, they married surrounded by relatives, friends, and Ron's on-screen dads, Andy Griffith and Tom Griffith Bosley. Ron observed about 50 years later that no one existed else for him. He called Cheryl tremendously supportive and claimed they had survived everything life had to offer. When Ron said there was no formula for their long marriage, he stated that communication was always their foundation, learning to handle difficult conversations constructively and recognizing sometimes love grows with luck. Cheryl has silently participated in Ron's career from the start. She appears in all his films that ever directed, even in high school. Brief appearances to blink and you miss it moments. Cheryl became his lucky charm. Ron has reportedly said he's superstitious about adding her in every film, making sure she's at least seen in one frame. When Arrested Development came, Ron Cheryl produced, narrated, and portrayed herself. Together, they raised Bryce, Paige, Jocelyn, and Reed are their children. Like parents, the Howards are imaginative. Bryce became a sensation with the help and he directed Jurassic World and The Mandalorian and the book, Boba Fett. Like Paige, she debuted in Adventureland, appearing in The Employer and Collection. Reed took alternative path, becoming a professional golfer and creating a swing assist balance. Jocelyn is discreet but attends public events with her family. And all 4 siblings once played themselves in Arrested Development, honoring Howard. Now, Ron and Cheryl proud parents and grandparents. Bryce and her husband, actor Seth Gable, has 2 kids. Norman, Beatrice Jean Reed, and Ashley had a daughter, Aspen Lee. In April 2020, Elodie Vivian, Ron and Cheryl's niece, arrived. Bryce announced 6th grandchild. She laughed about it online, saying she was already considering dressing Elodie as Baby Yoda. Paige married performer Tim Abu Nazar in 2022, while Jocelyn, ever private, is Belly Yvetto mother Ron and Cheryl's other grandchildren, Quinn, Sawyer, and Elodie. Over 50 years later, Ron and Cheryl's love endures. Just got stronger. From VW bug cruising high school sweethearts to longtime couples raising a child family of artists and visionaries, they've created something special in Hollywood. A durable marriage. Breaking point. Ron Howard's joke that almost ruined his career and the conflict that ended pleasant days. The good guy, Ron Howard, has always calmed Hollywood's storm, director who avoided scandal. But controversy has struck him too. In one offhand comment in a lackluster movie generated his biggest outrage that entire career. In contrast to shock and awe filmmakers, Howard has long been known for clear, classic storytelling as someone who stirred the pot. Sure, the Da Vinci Code and sequel caused some feathers at the Vatican, but elsewhere he was immaculate till 2011. He published The Dilemma that year. Film that swiftly became a creative and PR disaster. Howard later called The Dilemma shocking and tone-deaf, admitting it was project he regretted making. It bombed at the box office. The critics ripped it up. One line started the flames. Trailer, a prank that went national. In Vince Vaughn's character joked that electric automobiles are GE, not my folks are chaperoning the gay dance GE.1 statement incited fury. Universal Studios, seeking growth storm, contacted GLAAD before the trailer dropped. Move that showed they knew the line would make trouble. Anderson Cooper of CNN attacked the teaser on national television, asking people to protest that opposing hurtful youth language. The criticism spread quickly online and loud. To minimize harm, Universal recut the trailer without Howard wasn't in the finished movie, but the joke was giving up. Howard told the Los Angeles Times that it was proper for the studio to remove the sentence from advertising, but he refused to remove it from the film itself. He said he believed in sensitivity, but didn't support censorship. He observed that the issue was unfairly criticized substitute for years of Hollywood comedies with worse humor. Howard explained that the moment was supposed to demonstrate the primary character's personality, not the no one expected the line to define the movie, according to filmmaker. Anyway, for a director Sohi's controversy-free reputation was shaken by the backlash. Fortunately for him, fury vanished as quickly as the movie. During the problem, noise disappeared from cinemas when bombarded. That wasn't the only Howard stood his ground. Years before, during his run on Happy Days, he nearly left one of television's favorite shows. When Happy Days debuted in 1974, Howard played Richie Cunningham, the clean-cut lad next door, teenage door navigating. Ratings dropped by the third season, fading, and all eyes were on Henry Winkler's breakout star Fonzie. Leather jacket, charm, catchphrases. Fonzie was TV gold. The producers planned to capitalize on such success. They planned to rename the show Fonzie's Happy Days. Howard didn't oppose Fonzie's ascension. He realized the writer's intent to shift emphasis. Winkler's magnetism revived the series, but when he made his views plain when he heard about rebranding the show, his ego wouldn't allow. Howard stated that he would have changed the title. Quit. His contract didn't mention jealousy. This was about principle. The group made the show work and make it a hit. Personal spotlight seemed weird. Luckily, Happy Days creator Gary Marshall had the same view. Winkler allegedly contemplated changing names offend other cast members. Both men resisted, agreeing not merely Fonzie was the show's heart. It was their chemistry. Finally, the name stuck. Happy Days became one of television's most iconic comedies after that decision. 11 seasons, and cementing its 1970s cultural impact. Changing the title may have ruined the show and cast. Keep it intact allowed Happy Days to thrive as an ensemble. The good type, feel-good entertainment that defined a time. Both occasions, one for Ron Howard, comedy and controversy, showed the same thing. If public backlash or behind-the-scenes standoff, he always chose integrity over easy wins. Perhaps that's why he remains important decades later. Distinguished Hollywood figures. Unshaken, unsullied authentically himself. Hollywood isn't always kind. Toho stand by their values behind celebrity, charm, and success. Ron Howard faced creative storms along his climb. Moments that tested him patience, self-confidence, and filmmaking passion. She made Ron Howard regret this 1988 film. Ron Howard has made audiences laugh for decades. Many don't realize that beneath the laughs, Howard's path to Hollywood's top filmmaker wasn't always easy. Some sets challenged his patience, his skill, even sanity. One 1980s film he still watches reflecting, it changed him permanently. To comprehend regrets source come from, you must go back to Ron Howard's early filmmaking years. Directing not a playground, a battleground. His 1984 breakthrough hit, audiences saw Splash and Cocoon in 1985. Fun, successful films. But Howard was fighting a battle behind the scenes. A different tale, pressure, friction, and the kind of his rising pains nearly broke him. Howard revealed his early years as a director were hard. He asked Michael Keaton to star in 1980's IXS Gung Ho. He played on the actor's sense of humor. He told Catan that Splash and Cocoon, his late pictures, had excellent experiences, but difficult to make, making them less enjoyable. His current desire a project would be fun again. Hoped Gung Ho would be that. The truth was Splash and Cocoon had pushed him too far despite their success. Years later, Howard remembered those movies as milestones and his toughest tasks. About his early career, he said Splash was formed from a collaboration with his friend and producer Brian Grazer. Both baby boomers in their late 20s and shared creative drive and ambition in their early 30s. Hollywood, then time, was changing fast, and they recognized an opportunity to become their generation's voices. Howard conceded that those first two successes were significant but fraught with severe stress. Cocoon, complex stuff. The legendary Jaws and Sting producers produced the picture. Howard was immediately surrounded by industry experts. Cocoon won honors and became a box office hit. It wasn't smooth behind the scenes. Howard later he pretended to know everything while feeling out of his depth, learning to lead Hollywood's top actors quietly. Splash gave Tom Hanks his first major role, as he noted at how difficult it was. Back before, famous actors weren't exactly excited to work with a young, inexperienced director many know as Mabers Opie Taylor. Hanks said only got the call because the bigger stars turned the play down. Cocoon challenges became personal. Howard managed an esteemed cast of senior actors who had decades of expertise and were difficult to lead. He compared the process of instructing young basketball, explaining that coaches must recognize each player's strength. Maybe one couldn't dribble, they could still defend well. He applied that attitude on set, forcing each performer to shine in their own manner, despite difficulty. But not all made it easy. Howard described working with Wilfred Brimley as particularly tough. Brimley was strong-willed and dynamic, occasionally tense. Howard admitted interacting with him was hard, but he also appreciated Brimley's candor and spontaneity, gave the film something special. Cocoon gained emotional depth and needed reality. Howard transformed the adversity into strength that he tried to balance Brimley's intensity with the set's comfort to avoid toxicity that needed for everyone's success. Finally, those arduous shots. Ron Howard was shaped by Splash, Cocoon, and Willow in 1988 into his current directorship. They weren't simple, fun productions lovers might think. They were exhausting and discouraging, but they taught him leadership, ego management, and storytelling that rang beyond the screen. Willow, Howard later admitted, his 1988 fantasy adventure for George Lucas was one of his best, difficult and regrettable. The hidden creative strain, pressure of meeting expectations, and the conflicts made it difficult. The one vintage film he wanted had ended differently. Looking back, Ron Howard's career includes Apollo 13 and other successes, Frost Nixon and A Beautiful Mind. He became famous in Hollywood films, most reliable directors. But those early confrontations, which left him drained and doubting himself, were equally vital. Their fire molded him. As for that, the 1988 picture that nearly broke him reminds us that even Hollywood's kindest guy had to overcome his own storm before become a legend. Think Ron Howard is one. Hollywood's best directors? Which of his films is your favorite? Share in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen. You'll like.